Chapter 9 was about John waking up from his nap having a bad feeling. Everything was dark. He hoped that when he woke up his wife was there, but he didn't feel Rachel's body in bed, and he started looking for her and his son Patrick all over the cottage, but he didn't find them anywhere. Suddenly, from the wardrobe, someone came out, and at first, he didn't know if it was a man or a woman, but when it approached to John, he could realize it was a man, and that man told John that Patrick was fine, while the man was carrying John's son. John was very confused. He asked that man what he was referring to. He told him that all children come back to us from the other side, and Rachel's work was already done, and she could return to the other side because she did a very good job. John couldn't hear any more words and felt like he was falling. Suddenly, everything went dark. The only word I didn't understand in this chapter is the word to reach out, and it means to stretch your arm and hand to touch or take something. Chapter 10 begins with Rachel waking John up from his nightmare because everything that had happened in Chapter 9 was just a bad dream. After she managed to reassure John, they decided they were going to stay another week in Ireland to celebrate Patrick's birthday, but this time they would not stay in the cottages because they decided to stay in the pub, so Miss Regan could take care of Patrick when they needed it. On one of those days, John and Rachel decided to take a walk, and she decided to tell John about the nightmare she had had before they arrived in Ireland. And it starts with Rachel seeing a little boy who looked a lot like Patrick, playing with a toy car and making car noises, but later the car noises became more real, and from a moment to another, Rachel did not even know where she was herself. After, everything turned dark, and she woke up, but she would have that same dream 3 days more, and she was afraid of being near a car and had a bad feeling, but she convinced herself that everything would be fine. When she finished telling her husband about the nightmare, John was really scared because he remembered the story of the hitchhike. There were 3 words I didn't understand in this chapter. The first one was to lead. If a path or road leads somewhere, it goes there. The second one was path, a long thin area of ground for people to walk on. And the last one was to wash up, to bring up onto the shore. Chapter 11 begins with John finding a cassette in his jacket pocket. It was the cassette of the hitchhiking story, and he put it away. Rachel and Patrick were sleeping, but John couldn't. Suddenly, images of everything that had happened in the last weeks came to him as a movie, and he heard a scream. And he didn't know where it came from, and sat down to cry. The next day, as he was on his way to work, he heard the cassette. When he removed it, the tape was still playing, and he became hysterical, so much so that he almost had a car accident. The only word I didn't understand in this chapter was to watch out. It is used to tell someone to be careful. The last chapter is about John going to Brighton 3 days in a row, and he stayed in the car until nightfall. Rachel began to suspect that John wasn't telling her something. On the 3rd day, John went to Brighton, and by nightfall, he could see a woman in a white dress approaching John's car. But he couldn't see her face, because as she approached the passenger window, he decided to accelerate the car and keep driving as fast as he could, to get home and call his home phone to corroborate that the woman in white was not his wife. But at first, they didn't answer the phone. But shortly after, Rachel answered, and he felt calmer, because he corroborated that the lady in white wasn't his wife. There were 2 words I didn't understand in this chapter. The first one was rear view mirror. It is a mirror that allows a driver to see what is happening behind their car. And the last one was armchair. It is a comfortable chair with sides that support your arms.